A story. The tape measure is cold against my neck. I don't flinch, I've learned not to, in this job, but I feel her pause behind me, just for a second, before she loops the tape around my collar and reads the number quietly to herself. She writes it down without looking up. She's been doing this for 20 minutes and she hasn't wasted a single movement. I've never had anyone pay this much attention to my body without it meaning something, clinical or transactional. This feels like neither. I'm not sure what it feels like. Arms out, she says. I raise them. She moves around me with the tape, shoulders first, then across my back, and I watch her in the long mirror that runs the length of the fitting room. She's small and precise, dark hair pinned up with something that looks like a pencil but probably isn't. And she works the way I imagine surgeons work, complete focus. No performance of focus, just the thing itself. You've never had a bespoke suit, she says. It's not a question. That obvious? You keep bracing like I'm about to tell you something's wrong. She moves around to my front, tape across my chest now, fingers just brushing my sternum. Nothing's wrong. I'm just measuring. Right. Your sister's wedding? Yeah. She writes something down. When? 10 weeks. She nods like this is workable, which I suppose it is for her. For me, the wedding has been a low-grade anxiety since my sister called me 3 months ago, voice bright with happiness. And I'd said, of course, yes, I'll be there, and then spent 2 weeks figuring out what a man like me wears to something like that. A man who grew up with nothing, who built something out of that nothing, who still sometimes stands in rooms full of people and waits to be found out. I didn't know you could have a suit made specifically for you. My assistant mentioned it. I almost said no. First fitting is today, she says, crouching now to measure my inseam. Completely matter of fact. I'll have a toil ready in 2 weeks. Then we adjust. Final fitting the week before. 3 visits, at least. She stands, makes a note. Is that a problem? No, I say, and mean it more than I expect to. Her name is Claire. It's on the small brass plate by the door. Claire Morrow, Bespoke Tailor, Esther 2019. The shop is narrow and serious. Bolts of fabric on one wall, a long cutting table, 2 fitting mirrors, a kettle on a shelf that she offered me tea from and seemed genuinely pleased when I said yes. The whole place smells like good fabric and something faintly like cedar. I'd walked past it twice before coming in. Okay, she says, stepping back and looking at me the way you'd look at a blueprint, thoughtfully, taking inventory. Tell me about the wedding. Outdoor, indoor, time of day? Evening, church, then a reception at a hotel. She wants, I stop. My sister wants it to feel like something. She said that? I want it to feel like something, Jamie. Claire looks at me for a moment, not at the notepad. What does she want it to feel like? Like we made it, I say. Like we actually got somewhere. Something in her expression shifts. It's small, barely a softening, but I catch it. She looks back down at her notepad and writes something. And I wonder if she's writing about the suit or something else. Navy, she says. Classic but not stiff. We'll do a soft shoulder, more Italian than British. You'll move in it. She glances up. You should be able to move in it. I look at myself in the mirror, at the man standing there in his regular clothes, arms slightly out from his sides, being attended to by someone who is turning him into something measured and considered and made. I look like someone uncertain. I wonder when that stopped being something I was used to. Okay, I say. Yeah, let's do that. The toil fitting is 2 weeks later on a Thursday evening. The toil is unfinished, rough canvas, basted seams, pins everywhere, and she puts me in it with the efficient ease of someone who has dressed 1,000 people. But when I turn to the mirror, something happens in my chest that I wasn't prepared for. It fits. Not perfectly. She's already circling with chalk, murmuring to herself, pinching a seam at my shoulder blade, but the shape is right. The shoulders sit where shoulders are supposed to sit. The jacket falls open at exactly the right angle. I look like a man who had this made for him, which I suppose is the point, and shouldn't surprise me, and does anyway. You went still, she says behind me, chalk at my shoulder. It fits. Not yet, but it will. I stop. Try again. It fits, like it knows me. She comes around to the front, checking the lapel roll, and she looks up at me with an expression I can't quite read, like I've said something she understands specifically. That's the whole point, she says softly. She reaches up to adjust my collar, fingers just at the back of my neck, and for a moment neither of us moves. It's nothing. It's a collar adjustment. She does this every day for everyone. And then she steps back, professional and precise, and makes a note, and I breathe again. Can I ask you something? I say. Why bespoke? There are easier ways to make a living in fashion. She's crouching at the hem now, pins between her lips, and she takes them out before she answers. I grew up watching my grandmother alter clothes. She'd take something off the rack that didn't fit anyone properly and turn it into something that fit this person, this body, this life. She sits back on her heels. Ready to wear assumes you're standard. Nobody's standard. She says it simply, like it's obvious, like it shouldn't be a revelation. I stand in the mirror and look at myself, looking at her crouching at my feet with a pin cushion on her wrist. And I think, this woman makes things fit people who don't think they fit anywhere. I don't say that. I say, your grandmother sounds like someone worth knowing. She smiles at the hem. She was impossible and brilliant. She would have had opinions about this fabric. Good opinions? Loud ones. I laugh and she looks up. And for a moment the fitting room is just two people in a warm space on a Thursday evening, and it's easy in a way I don't quite know what to do with. The final fitting is the week before the wedding. She brings the suit out from the back on a wooden hanger in a cloth cover and hands it to me with the same care you'd hand someone something irreplaceable. The fitting room is mine for as long as I need it. I take longer than I should, just standing in it before I come out. When I do, she's at the cutting table, not looking, and then she turns around. She goes quiet. Not the professional quiet of assessment, the other kind. The kind that means something landed somewhere unexpected. I stand in the mirror and I see what she sees. A man in a suit that was made for him specifically, out of understanding rather than assumption. A man who looks like he arrived somewhere. She crosses the room. She straightens my pocket square. It doesn't need straightening and smooths the lapel with the flat of her hand. Slowly, the way you'd touch something you made and are letting go of. Jamie, she says quietly. Yeah, you look like you belong there. I look at her in the mirror, at the careful, serious woman who spent 3 weeks turning me into something fitted and intentional. At the small chalk marks still on her wrist she hasn't noticed. I'm going to come back, I say. After, tell you how it went. She meets my eyes in the mirror. That's not usually part of the service. I know, I pause. I'd like it to be. She holds my gaze for a long moment. Her hand is still flat against my lapel, warm through the wool. Neither of us moves. Saturday, she says finally, very carefully. The shop's closed Saturday, but I'm usually here. I pick up my sister from the airport 2 days later and she cries when she sees me. Not about the suit, but about the way I'm standing in it. Like, I'm not waiting for someone to ask me to leave. Like I got somewhere. She holds my face in her hands and says, Jamie, the way only she can say it. And I think about a woman in a narrow shop who spent 3 weeks paying attention to me. And I think, yeah, we made it.